All right. So I went through and I made a whole heaping helping of predictions for this year, some of which are educated guesses, others are just wishful thinking. I think I said that in the article. But I'm going to basically go through them one by one and talk about where I am coming from with this because I didn't go like in depth with my thoughts on these things or anything like that. I figure once I get on a roll, it's like when I'm writing, it just kind of snowballs, and then the next thing you know, I'm working on an article that should have taken me like 2 or 3 days or something like that, just in between everything else I'm doing. It turns into 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, I basically just got my predictions down, and I thought it would be easier for me to just sit down and talk about them here in video form. So we will scroll on down to prediction number one, which right here is prediction number one: Nintendo Switch 2 base model price increases by at least $50. And as you can see, I have a likelihood as very high, and the result is to be determined. I have results listed for all of them, and I'll update it as needed. But yeah, as far as the Switch 2 price going up, I think that's a matter of when, not if. Um, unless they make some sort of cuts to the main hardware, some serious revisions, maybe half the storage size or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't well, we'll get into that a little bit later, but there's another prediction that would kind of play into this discussion a bit. But yeah, I mean, with the way everything is going up in price, I'd say you're probably going to see the Switch 2 at $499 with no Mario Kart World included, probably before the year's out. And I think that's probably going to be a big problem for Nintendo. So yeah, I think that is about as close to a lock as you're going to get. So moving on to number two, we have no official announcement or tease of the PlayStation 6. So I think that's probably something that we're going to hear about in 2027. But right now, with everything going on the way it is, prices being what they are, I don't think now is the time for, talking about next generation hardware. And, I mean, Nintendo kind of got stuck in the middle of that, and look at how things have been with the Switch too. I mean, it's sold very, very well, but the reputation of it has been kind of rocky because of the price. Probably should have been $399. Definitely should not have had an $80 fucking Mario Kart game in it. But yeah, I mean, reading the room, it's like, you know, people don't. I'm not going to say they don't want a PlayStation 6 because, beefier hardware, maybe it has some new gimmicks or whatever. Yeah, sure. I mean, who doesn't love new tech? It's fun. But right here and right now, people are just, doing well to enjoy, um, just the PlayStation 5 as it is. Not a hell of a lot has really pushed the PS5 to its limits. I mean, you see, resolution drops and frame rate drops here and there, with like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's like that. You really needed the power of the PS5 Pro to get like solid picture quality and a solid frame rate all at the same time. And even at that, there was a new performance mode on top of that. So, I mean, we're pretty much at the point of diminishing returns where it's just everything looks and runs slightly better than it does on the existing hardware. And most people probably don't feel like they've gotten that much of a bang for their buck out of the PS5. I mean, I love the PS5. I know a lot of people love the PS5. But as far as like big name exclusive hardware that the PS4 couldn't have done to some sort of a capacity, there's not a hell of a lot. So I think that's going to be one thing that, Sony waits on a bit. But we shall see. Moving on to number three, Walmart entirely drops the Xbox Series X and S from in-store shelves. Oh, and before I move on, I have the likelihood on that previous one as medium. I'm not sure I mean, I could maybe see them dropping a PS6 announcement at like the Game Awards or something like that. So I don't know how likely it is that. I mean, realistically speaking, I think there's medium chances that prediction comes out right, because I could see them maybe doing something at the Game Awards. But anyways, moving on to the Walmart entirely drops the Xbox Series X and S from in-store shelves. I have that as a likelihood of high. Yeah, I mean, I just went to my local Walmart and half the Xbox case has been, removed. Everything's been consolidated down to just like one case, plus where they have the systems. And I mean, with the way things are going for the Xbox and how, I mean, the rumors are that it's only sold 1 million units last year. And the fucking, next Playground is like outselling it during Black Friday and stuff like that. I think it's going to eventually get to the point where, maybe you can get the hardware in store, but most of the games are probably going to be cycled out. They might just, assume people are going digital with it, or just flat out take them all out of the stores, period, and just sell them online. I could see that. But I mean, my official prediction about, the Series X and S being completely dropped from in-store shelves, I think that's just a matter of when. And I would be surprised if it lasts the full year. I mean, this Black Friday might be the last for it. This coming Black Friday might be the last for it in stores. But we'll see. Okay, next up, number 4, MLB The Show 26 debuts on Nintendo Switch 2 on the same launch day as other platforms, is 60 FPS during gameplay. So the way I see it is, I mean, aside from like some of the cutscenes where they get kind of choppy when there's like a lot of players on the field or whatever, getting 60 FPS out of MLB The Show on the Switch 2 and having it look halfway decent, that shouldn't be a problem for San Diego Studio, because, they have, I mean, they've gotten 60 FPS out of the PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox Series X and S. I mean, essentially the only platform that really had any trouble running it to any degree was the Switch 1, and this thing's way, way, way more powerful. So I think that one is pretty close to a lock. I put the likelihood as high as opposed to very high because, the 60 FPS stuff, we've seen a lot of sports games that are 30 FPS. But with something as, as twitchy as baseball, you really do need to have the gameplay at 60 FPS, even if it isn't the prettiest thing in the world. But I think it's probably going to be pretty decent. And should be, we should be hearing about it very, very soon. All right, number 5. Port of Final Fantasy XIII, either first game or full trilogy, announced for modern consoles, including the Nintendo Switch 2. I don't think they are going to put anything out, without it coming to Switch 2 at this point. Unless it literally cannot run it, I think Square Enix's strategy is pretty much to just go multi-platform with everything now. And that's smart. That's smart business. That's good. I mean, you have customers on all platforms, some of which are, pretty underserved, like on the Xbox. So yeah, if you can make a splash there and get some decent sales with, not a hell of a lot of work, all things considered, then why not? It just makes sense. I have the likelihood of that happening as medium. I know there was a story recently about a lot of the new Square Enix employees saying that 13 was their favorite Final Fantasy game. So I feel like, you look back and everything 1 through 12, with the exception of the MMO Final Fantasy 11, all of that's on modern consoles now. So, if you just follow the natural progression of things, the 13 trilogy should be getting a modernized port at some point in the not too distant future, because, it's pretty much almost overdue at this point. Next up, number 6. The first trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 shown off before year's end. 2027 release. I mean, this is pretty much a lock at this point. We are going to have like an announcement on the name very soon. I think it's probably going to be Reunion. But yeah, I mean, it's, that would probably be, I mean, that could be another Game Awards reveal, if I'm being honest. And I mean, the talk is that Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, Rebirth is going to be hitting Switch 2 before the end of the year as well. So, 2027 release would make sense because then you'd have some time to play through both of those before the third game comes out. And, yeah, I think that one's just about a lock. So, prediction number 7, and hopefully this is looking okay in OBS. I think we're doing okay. I'm going back and forth between my window and my streaming. So, yeah, hopefully this is going okay. But prediction number 7, announcement of Final Fantasy XIV on Nintendo Switch 2. And the reason why this is on here and with a high likelihood is because I think like the producer or director of Final Fantasy XIV kind of let it slip that they were working on the Switch 2 version. So it's just a matter of it like officially being, confirmed. Or at the very least, he highly hinted at it. I mean, it was pretty much taken to be almost a confirmation that the Switch 2 was going to get FF14, but, until it's officially official, you just got to kind of take things with a grain of salt. You never know if there's a mistranslation in there or whatever. So we'll just kind of keep our eyes peeled for that. I could see that popping up in like a, summer Nintendo Direct or something like that. But prediction number 8. Halo appears on all 3 console platforms within the calendar year. Likelihood of high. Which I might have gone a little too high with that, to be honest. Probably should have been a medium. But here's the thing. We got we've got another Halo remake coming out this year. Halo Combat Evolved remake. That's also coming to PS5, I believe. I think that's confirmed for that. So essentially, you're 2/3 of the way there. So if Microsoft stealth drops like the Master Chief Collection or something like that on the Switch 2, you'd have Halo on all 3 platforms. I think there's a reasonable chance that could actually happen. And since it's already going to happen on 2 of the 3 consoles, all we need is the Switch to essentially get that one past the finish line. So I put it at likelihood high. It'll be interesting to see if it actually pans out that way, though. Prediction number 9. No major hardware revision or new model for Nintendo Switch 2. Okay, and this goes back to what I was talking about with prediction number 1. And I have this as medium, so it could go either way with it. But essentially what I mean by major hardware revision or new model, I don't think we're going to see a Switch 2 Lite necessarily in 2026. I don't know if we'd see like the Switch 2 OLED either. If we do have anything, it might just be like I was saying earlier about, dropping down the internal storage to, 128 gigs or something like that. That's kind of what I mean by like no major hardware revision. But if I'm proven wrong on this, because I know there's been rumors that there's another Switch model that's shown up in like some of the back end stuff for Nintendo or something like that. I think if that's the case, I think it's probably just going to be like I said, just like some sort of a small revision to the hardware, maybe the storage capacity, something like that. I don't think that we're going to get the Switch 2 Lite this year. But you never know. Stranger things have happened. And with everything going the way it is, companies are looking to bring down their costs a bit. So you never know. That might actually be the perfect time to launch the Switch Lite. Or Switch 2 Lite. Okay, prediction number 10. Sonic the Hedgehog's 35th anniversary will feature numbered Sonic the Hedgehog 5. And I put the likelihood as low on this because I've heard that the rumor is that it's going to be some sort of a like a Sonic Frontiers type of game coming up next. But I also thought, 35th anniversary, Sonic 5, official numbered Sonic 5. I know they had Sonic 4, Episode 1 and 2 and something like that. But doing like a proper numbered Sonic 5, I think that would be like kind of a big earth-shattering announcement, especially if you get, the Sonic Mania team to work on it. Which, again, I don't know that that's really that likely. Was it, I can't remember the guy's name. Was it Christian something or other? I'm completely spacing on the name, but essentially whoever, the team that worked on Sonic Mania, they just hit it out of the park. I mean, that's pretty much like the unofficial Sonic 5, but I'm talking like official Sonic 5. And because of that specific criteria, I really have that marked down as low. But we'll see. All right, prediction number 11. Transformers War for Cybertron re-released on Xbox Game Pass. So this is kind of like a oddly specific type thing, because I know, Microsoft bought Activision, and Hasbro is looking to, Hasbro was interested in re-releasing the Transformers games. So I thought, as like kind of like a smaller release or re-release, I guess you'd put it, doing the War for Cybertron games, or, just the first one at the very least, that could be something conceivable for 2026. I'm not sure about like porting it to other systems, but since there's already an Xbox version, in existence as it is, I think, what was that, Xbox 360? I don't think it was, that wasn't PS, or Xbox One, was it? I think it was 360, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't know, I'm completely spacing on it, but anyways, that's something I think could conceivably happen. I have the likelihood as medium, because, it's something that I think could realistically happen if the circumstances are right. And we know Hasbro likes money. And this is also the 40th anniversary year for Transformers the movie. So, yeah, they're going to be celebrating that. I've heard rumors they're going to do an apology tour for traumatizing an entire generation by killing off most of the season 1 and 2 Transformers in the movie. Yeah. I've kind of walled off Transformers the movie and everything that happens after it off from seasons 1 and 2, because that was like the real Transformers TV show experience right there, seasons 1 and 2. Then the movie happened, and it just felt like it was an entire reboot for the show. I guess essentially it was. And it just, I just kind of marked it down as like, seasons 3 and 4 and beyond. Yeah, that's kind of like a different continuity from Transformers. It's like the original series, had its own tone to it. Then the movie changed everything, and then everything just went off a cliff after that. But anywho. Okay, prediction number 12. We have the next Bayonetta game revealed, and Cereza, aka the real Bayonetta, is a playable character, and I have this likelihood as low. And, I know that it's been a while since Bayonetta has, Bayonetta 3 came out, and how can I put this lightly? I fucking hate Bayonetta 3. Like, I fucking hate it. And I try to avoid hating anything. I try not to channel that energy into hatred. I try to focus on the things I enjoy, the things that make me happy. But yeah, there's no two ways about it. I can't dance around that one. That Bayonetta 3 fucking sucked. Because it just ruined everything that franchise had going for it. It just felt like it had no ties whatsoever with the previous two games from like any sort of like a building to this thing happening perspective. It just felt like it was something completely different, and I mean, spoilers for Bayonetta 3, and if you haven't played it, I'm just going to save you the trouble of it. Unmarked spoilers ahead. So basically, Luca turns into a monster, and at the end of the game, he essentially gets killed and dragged down to hell. Bayonetta gets killed off in every single continuity by the villains of the series, and also gets dragged down to hell at the end of the game. And their annoying daughter, Viola, who is the alternate playable character in Bayonetta 3, is the new Bayonetta. And also, Jean died too. I mean, that game fucking sucked. I hate that fucking game. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. Anyways. Yeah. Low. I mean, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. What is it? Platinum? Is that a platinum game? I think it's a platinum game. Anyways. Yeah, prove me wrong. If Bayonetta 4 is a real thing, make it not suck. Anyways. Prediction number 13, the halfway mark. Pokemon's Generation 10 games are shown off, and they continue the trend of disappointing visuals. I have this as very high. Yeah, it's probably going to be cross-gen if I had to guess, because of all the Switch 1s out there. They'll probably do exactly what they did with Pokemon Legends ZA. Just make it cross-gen, and if you get it on Switch 2, it's, better frame rate, better resolution, it's just prettier overall. Yeah, that's, I'd say that's very, very likely. That's probably going to be like one of the big Nintendo Direct announcements this year, or Pokemon Direct announcements. We're about due for it. We're about due for Generation 10, I believe. I believe it's Generation 10. I have it down as Generation 10. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Fuck it. You know what I mean. The next new generation of Pokemon. Yeah, the successor to Scarlet and Violet. But yeah, very high likelihood that both halves of that prediction will come true. Prediction number 14. Splatoon 4 announced single-player mode recreates online multiplayer experience offline, but with bots. I have wanted this the entire fucking time Splatoon has been a thing. Seriously. I mean, no disrespect to the main campaign mode. I mean, they're fine. But the experience of Splatoon is mostly the multiplayer mode. So it only makes sense that you would recreate the mode offline, since the game is essentially half portable anyways because of it being on the Switch, and give players that are offline for whatever reason the option of playing what's essentially the main gameplay modes of the game, but offline with bots, and you can level up offline and things like that. It just makes sense. The offline modes of Splatoon as a series have always been disappointing. They're just leaving something on the table, and it's driving me crazy. I want that to be a thing. I want that to be a thing. You hear me, Nintendo? That's what I want. I'll tell you what I want. What I really, really want. I want single-player mode offline that recreates the online experience, but with bots. Likelihood of that is medium. Probably the last half of that should probably make it a low, but fuck it. If I get it halvesies right, then I'll note it accordingly. Prediction number 15. Capcom vs. SNK 3 announced. Largely safe roster of Street Fighter and King of Fighters core characters, relatively few from other franchises. So yeah, I don't think they're going to go Tatsunoko versus Capcom with this and have the Onimusha 4 characters and the Mega Man Legends version of Mega Man in there and stuff like that. I think this is probably going to be a largely safe roster of mainly, I mean, essentially the modern equivalent of Capcom versus SNK 1, as far as the roster goes. But I mean, we have Terry Bogard and Mai Shiranui in Street Fighter 6. We have Ken and Chun Li in Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. I mean, it all of this is just teasers. It's just testing the waters with it. And I think they're probably going to go ahead and do it. I bet it's going to be, pretty decent looking, 2D, 2.5D version of the game. I'd love for them to do like a modern retro, like sprite based Capcom fighting game. Not like what they did with HD Remix and Ultra Street Fighter 2. I mean, like, they actually bring back the sprites from like 25 years ago and put them in a modern Capcom versus SNK 3 type of fighting game. I'd love to see that actually. Get that reused Morrigan sprite from like 1995 some more work. I've heard the rumors that this is actually, Capcom versus SNK 3 is actually going to be a thing. I think it probably is. Might get revealed, around EVO. Maybe EVO Japan. We'll see. I have the likelihood on that one as medium. Because, I mean, I feel like it's going to happen. I just, I'm not certain if it's going to happen this year or not. As far as the announcement goes. Okay. Number 16. Prediction 16. Metal Gear Solid Collection 2 releases. Includes Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, all of the PSP Metal Gear games, and the entirety of Metal Gear Solid 5. Because there was like, what is it, Phantom Pain and... What the hell was the other one? Shit. I got it on my shelf. I'm looking for it. I'm looking. Oh, crap. I only found the Phantom Pain. Anyways. Whatever the two halves of Metal Gear Solid 5 were, essentially they'll do that for modern consoles since, essentially for the most part, it would probably be a re-release. So, I mean, why not? It's just a simple tossing it in on the collection just to add some value to it and, get some extra sales. Because, I mean, God knows if it's on modern consoles and hasn't moved a lot, or moved a lot recently, why not? It helps incentivize the collection and they could probably get more money for it. So likelihood high, it's a matter of when, not if. And since we are in, at the end of January, we have 11 more months to go. I think that seems like a reasonable, possibility that would happen. But we'll see. If something's going to fuck me up on it, I don't think it will be the actual release for it. I think it will be the game list. Maybe not Metal Gear Solid 5. Or all of the PSP games, because there's like, Metal Gear Solid, 2 versions of Acid, then Peace Walker, and wasn't there one other? I can't remember it. Shit, I need to do research on these things before I open my big fat mouth. Anyways, prediction number 17. Xbox hardware and Game Pass both receive price increases. Again, yeah, this is like almost a lock at this point. Especially the hardware, I think that could probably go up maybe another $30. I mean, a $500 Xbox Series X in 2020 is now $649. I could see it going up to $679, maybe $699. You never know, depending on how the industry goes. I've heard they're going to try to pivot and make Xbox like a premium brand or something like that. So we'll see. But yeah, I think that's pretty much a lock. And as far as Game Pass going, a lot of the cuts were apparently related. But a lot of the cuts they've made for Xbox and the price increases have all been tied to trying to reach like a certain profitability threshold for the division or something like that. It's like there's something going on within Microsoft where it's like every division has to make like 30%, you know, make a 30% profit rate or something like that. I'm not sure how spot on that is, but yeah, that's what I've heard. And I got the likelihood of that is very high. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think that's almost guaranteed at this point because they had 2 price increases, at least on the hardware alone, on in 2025. And of course, Game Pass went up almost double, pretty much. So yeah, I think there's plenty of time for both of those to go up. Prediction number 18. The next Playground 2, or something comparable, is announced. I mean, the thing kicked the Xbox's ass during the holiday season. So you can only imagine that they're going to have like a second one ready to roll for, this year's holiday season. I'm not sure how massive it's going to be. Some sort of a revision. We'll see. I don't know. But I have the likelihood of that as medium because if they can get like the next Playground 2 out and have it like really make a bigger splash, that brand's going to go up in value and, in public perception. And like I said, medium on that. I just, I can see it going either way with it. I'm not familiar with with the next Playground aside from seeing it and what I've heard about it. I haven't actually used it. Have no desire to buy it whatsoever. Kind of a tacky looking thing, to be honest. A gaudy Rubik's Cube with a camera built in. That's basically it. Prediction number 19. We're almost at 20. We're coming down the home stretch with it. 4 or more Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games / upgrade packs are announced. I might be coming in a bit high on 4 of them, but I could kind of see that also being the case. We're still in the first year of the Switch. Maybe some games are further out than they're hoping, so they can just, do a little bit of maintenance on some of the older games. Trying to think what else they could really spruce up a bit with an official like Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Just kind of glancing through my Switch lineup just briefly. I don't think they do any more content for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so that's probably just going to stay as is. They don't want to cannibalize sales from Mario Kart World. Don't have, let's see. They could potentially do like a Switch 2 edition for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure really what they could do for it besides maybe just update the resolution, possibly. I don't think they go to the trouble of adding any new characters or stages to it. But we'll see. Yeah, I think I have the likelihood of that as high because I know there's going to be more Switch 2 editions. I just don't know if it's going to be quite 4. I was probably reaching a bit with that, but we'll see. Prediction number 20. Sony revives the Killzone franchise with heavy focus on online multiplayer, which pretty much sounds like most of the Killzones, for the most part, in the online era. I have this set at low likelihood because, sometimes these franchises just go dormant and you expect a new game and you keep waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it and nothing ever comes of it. And quite frankly, that's kind of become the Killzone franchise. I think with everything going on with Call of Duty and Battlefield and stuff like that, the market's there for it. If it's decent, if, the long-term support is there, I mean, it could do fine. And it would be a great exclusive for the PS5. And I did not specify whether or not this was released in 2026 or just announced in 2026. So essentially, whatever we get. If it's a Killzone with online multiplayer, essentially, a win is a win. Okay, prediction number 21. This is one of the big ones I've been waiting for. Probably right behind Final Fantasy VII Remake. Is a multi-platform Stellar Blade 2 is announced, and a Switch 2 port of the first game releases during the summer. I might have screwed myself on the whole during the summer part, but we have heard that Shift Up bought like everybody on their staff Switch 2s. I mean, and there's like some more stuff that they got them last year. I can't remember what it was. Something around Christmas, like some sort of really good Christmas bonus. Like Shift Up seems to take good care of their employees. And they should too. They make good stuff. I mean, Stellar Blade 1, that is one of my favorite games of this generation. Probably my favorite just pure action game, I guess you'd say. I'd kind of separate it from like Final Fantasy VII Remake a bit, since that's more JRPG, menu navigations are in there too, type of thing. Whereas, Stellar Blade, that's just pretty much entirely just, Twitch-based action gameplay. But yeah, I think Stellar Blade 2 could definitely be announced this year. And I think it's just a matter of when, not if, we get the first game on the Switch 2. I think it's already on Steam Deck and stuff like that, so I know it can work on portable hardware. And if they really take the time and optimize it for the Switch 2, it could probably do pretty damn well. I have the likelihood on that as a medium. We'll see. But that's one I really hope ends up being the case. Prediction number 22. Chrono Trigger re-release / remake announced. HD 2D graphics. So, essentially like what they've done with the Dragon Quest games, but maybe with Chrono Trigger, or just maybe a straight, a straight re-release of the original, straight port of it, with maybe like no frills or anything like that. So I guess I kind of covered my bases for just Chrono Trigger coming back out again. I think the last release for that on consoles or handhelds was what, the DS version. And I actually have the DS version. I played a fair bit of it back in the day. I didn't finish it, but I played a lot of it. Likelihood as medium on that, because they're putting out vinyl records of the Chrono Trigger soundtrack. I mean, that's just kind of like getting the audience warmed up for, a brand new re-release or remake or whatever it ends up being. But if they did that in the Octopath Traveler style of HD 2D graphics, that thing would probably be received very, very, very well. I know I'd get it. Okay, 23. New or remastered / remake of a Star Fox game revealed. Have this one as low for obvious reasons. I'd love a new Star Fox. I don't care if it's a port of like an HD port of the Star Fox 64 3D remake. That was really good. I really like that. If you put that on a modern console in HD, or 4K or whatever, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I love that game. Star Fox 64 is one of my all-time favorite games. So, they wanted to put the 3D remake, take the 3D out and swap it in for, 4K visuals or something like that. Fuck yeah, bring it on. I'll take it. But it's Star Fox. So, yeah, likelihood on that one is low. That's one I'm almost certain I'm going to get wrong. Wish I wasn't. Pretty certain I am. Prediction number 24. The next God of War game is teased with the release date around the film adaptation. So yeah, this is another one I could see popping up, at the Game Awards at the end of the year. Maybe at a state of play before then. It's Sony likes to announce stuff a good ways out. So if they wanted to kind of get this ready to roll and have it, drop around the time that the film comes out, or maybe a few months before that, or whatever. I mean, it makes sense. Makes perfect sense. It is a film adaptation, right? It's not an Amazon show, is it? Am I losing my mind on that? Maybe. I know that, but it's a movie, right? It's a movie. I think it's a movie. Anyways, likelihood of high. I'd be surprised if it didn't happen this year. If that didn't get announced in some way, shape, or form. But we shall see. Prediction number 25, the second to last. Pinball FX gets dedicated Nintendo Switch 2 version / update with high quality art assets, matching those on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. And I left out something that would say, and they make you rebuy your tables again. I know they would do it. I probably should have put that in there, but I didn't. Son of a bitch. Have that as a likelihood of high. It's only a matter of time. I mean, now that the Switch 2 is out, porting over the 4K, I guess you'd say the PS5 and Series X versions of Pinball FX, it only makes sense. Now it's on a far more capable hardware. So, I mean, that's one of those things where it's like, I could see it either being like a dedicated version or possibly like what Rocket League did, where they just update the game itself just kind of quietly, I guess you'd say, or whatever. They'll probably, if they're going to do high quality art assets, they probably wouldn't do it just as a strict like update. I suppose they probably would put out like a Switch 2 dedicated version for that. Anyways, my bases are covered on that one. Likelihood of high, I think, it's probably one of those things where it's like, why wouldn't they at this point? I mean, the Pinball FX games, it's like, there's a big community out there. People love those games. I love those games. I keep meaning to sit down and like stream one of them. Maybe Star Wars Pinball. That's like one of my, cult favorite Nintendo Switch games. There's like a lot of things that are like the hidden gems on the Switch Switch 1. That is definitely one of them. One of my favorite games on the platform, to be honest. Okay, here we go. The final prediction for 2026. Number 26. Earth Defense Force 7 will be announced for the PlayStation 4 and 5 and Switch 2. No Xbox Series X and S version. Have the likelihood on this one as medium. It's been a little bit of time since EDF 6 came out. That was what, 2024? I think. I'm double checking in Game Eye. Not sponsored, but great app. Great app. EDF 5. What the hell? Don't I have EDF 6 in here? Did I not put EDF 6 in my my list? Son of a bitch. Anyways, yeah, it's been a little bit of time, and the games that you see from Sandlot, they aren't exactly pushing the horsepower that much. I mean, they weren't exactly optimized that well, but yeah, as far as visuals go, they usually reuse a lot of their art assets because they don't really need to do that much to it. I mean, just throw a bunch of alien robots and giant bugs and spaceships at me and, give me a rocket launcher. I'm happy. That's Earth Defense Force. It's like one of the best games that I've played in the modern era. And another thing that I need to stream on this channel at some point. I really should get my my PS3 hooked up so I can stream from like my 250-ish, maybe more than that, hour save in EDF 2025 on the PS3. That would be interesting. I mean, I'd show you some performance and optimization issues there. Let me tell you. When you have like an entire fleet of dragons breathing fire down on you, it is definitely going to chug a bit. All right. So there you have it. My 26 gaming predictions for 2026. And I'm going to be trying to post more stuff kind of like that, just general, random thought type of things on my Patreon page, patreon.com/BlueSwim. So check that out. Membership is free. Not doing a paid membership for the time being. So consider checking that out if you are on Patreon.